Remember, we're talking about being beyond our perceived conception of sex or gender and entering into that space who we truly are. And we're asked to do that on a daily basis. And the more you do it, the less aware you are of doing it. It just comes natural. You don't have to sit there and think, now, should I get angry at this or should I be loving at this? You don't have to spend time with that. The practice is the practice. The practice will help you flow naturally and without effort. You don't have to force yourself to love them or give them a hug because they're God's children too. You don't have to force yourself to do that. You stop putting labels on people, nationalities, red state, blue state, Guatemalan, Mexican. You stop putting labels on people because you realize that what I think they are my limited conception of who they are. But no matter who they are, no matter what I perceive them to be, it is my job, it is my responsibility to love them. And that's what all of the wisdom paths tell us. So, let's do it. Any questions? Yes, Don.
When we have had an opportunity not to get angry, but we fail miserably, and ego takes over, and we're contracted by the anger, and we feel it, and maybe even express it. And afterward, we realize that we really blew it. I'm curious about the process of moving past that. It seems difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Are you starting all over again? Are you just picking up the baton again? I'm just curious about the process, the proper process.
Well, there's a lot that's wrapped up into that image that you projected. The first is that who we think we are, the self that gets angry and oversteps their bounds, does not exist. So there's nothing to change with, wrestle with in that moment, but it's about being reminded that we've forgotten who we truly are. And immediately begin to turn. I can face the darkness or I can face the sun. That's my choice. And so I'm reminded that when I get angry, when I let my judgment overflow, when I let my condemnation run wild, when I condemn the other, that it's not anything to do with me and the other, it's to do with me and my forgetting who I truly am. And I remind myself, this experience reminds me that my practice is not as complete as I thought it was. You know, we walk around thinking we're good people, and then we do bad things. Well, no, good people don't do bad things. Bad people do bad things. But I think I'm good. Well, it's telling me that I've got some refining to do. I've got some work to do. And instead of waiting until the next time it happens to work on it, it's about reminding me that today, right now, this moment is the time that I should work on it. Before something else, before another experience happens that causes me to feel the same way about myself. It's a friend. That's all it is. All of our experiences are just guideposts and friendly energy that keeps us on point, that keeps us from lying to ourselves, to tell ourselves that, you know, I'm really a good person. You know you're a good person when you no longer do the things that you've done in the past. That's how you know. Do I still get angry at this? Do I still condemn that person? Am I still just judgmental about this or that or the other thing? That's how I know that experience. Because until I get that experience, until that experience happens, I can lie to myself. I can tell myself how great I am and how much of a practitioner I am and how loving and kind I am. Until I'm given the opportunity to see myself in the mirror. And I can't lie to myself then because I just saw myself in all of my faultiness. And then I remember that in my practice, that is not who I am. And that I remember in my practice, all I have to do is turn around and bring in more of the love to me so that I'll have more love to give. Speaking of love, I appreciate the fact that so many of you have inquired about my health and about my well-being. I appreciate it so much. But I'm just doing fine. I'm just getting old, that's all. And that's a natural thing, you know, because all of this, is empty. This is not me. So when we start to try to manipulate this thing that we think we are, that again tells us we're not practicing. We don't believe in emptiness. We don't believe in the Tao. We don't believe all that we've been studying because we're so busy trying to patch, trying to smooth out, you know, trying to change what is not even real, trying to run away from all experiences, all moments are opportunities to grow and to learn about who you really are. That's what we're talking about. So it's no confusion, no collusion. Okay, that makes sense, Don? Okay. It's about working. Yes, sir.
So,
Excuse me, before is that related to that question? Is that related to that question that Don just asked?
not exactly.
Okay, well, I'd like, you couldn't see my hand.
No, I really couldn't.
So I just want to go back to that scenario, like when, you know, we have a blowout and we really lost it, and later we realize that, you know, like we did that. I want to know how many people in here get angry and don't know they're angry when they're angry.
When you're angry?
Mm-hmm.
In the midst.
Sometimes it takes the form, we think we're justifying.
Okay, so it takes the form of justification. But if you can identify anger, that means it has some kind of signs, right? Okay, so I don't think that we should excuse ourselves when we don't want to yield to or don't want to heed the signs. I mean, so we're making a choice at that moment to do these things. You know, so it's not like we do these things and, oh, like, I don't know what happened, I lost somebody. I'm just realizing just now that I was speaking harshly to them. I'm just realizing just now, you know, but we realize it when we're doing it. It's just that we're making a choice of what we want to do in that moment. And if we would take more accountability for the choices that we make, then we could do a lot better with the things, you know. What I'm saying is there's a time that we excuse ourselves, but excuses get old if you're really trying to be better. And so we're in a great period of abundance of therapists who tell us that we can't do much better, it's okay, be gentle with yourself. It tells us all of these things, but I'll tell you, sometimes only the most drastic actions matter. So if you're in the middle of getting ready to rage on somebody, you feel the steam coming up. If you just said, you know what, I feel like a steam engine right now, instead of how dare you say that to me. If you change the words that were coming out your mouth that acknowledge where you are at this moment, you know, you wouldn't have to do that too many times before you would like change how you would respond to that incident in that moment. But because we excuse ourselves and what's rising up in us, and like we come and revisit it later. You know, one time my husband did something, and when I just nailed him on it right there. I mean, in about 2 weeks, that was enough time for him to make restitution, and he did not. And so then I did like point that out to him, and he said, "You didn't give me enough time. I was gonna fix that." You know, so he knew from the very beginning that was wrong, but he was like just trying to buy his time because he didn't want to have to acknowledge, he didn't want to have to, you know, work with himself. He wanted to give me enough time to get over it so that when he came, I'd say, "Oh, that's all right." I'm like, no, it's not okay, you know. And so I'm saying that part of the balance that we have, and particularly when we're in a time that's just excusing our outbursts, it makes us stay infantile. We are grown adults. We are able to manage our emotions if we want to. And there needs to be more effort at recognizing that so that we can step into it and that we can live in it. So I'm just simply saying that when you start feeling whatever you know is your indication that you're getting angry, you're feeling the heat come up, you got the yeah buts, you got the sense of insult and outrage. If you said, look, I'm feeling insulted and outraged and I'm losing self-control, say that instead of how dare you do this or say that. I'm telling you, you can make some quick changes. Now it doesn't matter whether you want to make quick changes or whether you just want to look right for a long time before you get it right. But that's what I would say. I would say we know, acknowledging that we know when we're spinning. We know when the wrong thought is arising as it's arising. We know when we're right in the middle of saying something that what we had planned to say is not coming out right. Who can stop right while they're in the middle of saying it and said, you know what, I'm not acting from my highest place right now. I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, that takes a lot. You know, that like totally crashes the ego. If you do something that really is not gracious to me, and I react to it, and I stop in the middle and say to you, my reaction is inappropriate for what my great wish is for me. I mean, how many times you gonna do that before you start checking yourself, before you open your mouth? You will check it. It just matters how important it is to you, you know, and what change you really want to make. We can do this, you know, but we have to really be ready to dismiss the ego.
I'd like to add a footnote onto what you're talking about. And you got at least two people involved in the situation. You've got the aggrieved person and the one who did the insulting. And what we want to do is grow to the point where no matter what the other person does or says, we're not there waiting to nail them on it, but we're there to love them. And therefore then, you know, if we remember that all of this is emptiness, that it's none of it's real, it's only real because we made it real. Well, if we know we can make it real, then we can make the reality whatever we want to be. We can make it rainbows and butterflies, or we can make dog turds. Doesn't matter. It's up to us. We have the power. So yeah.
That was extreme. This has been extremely helpful to me. as the situation develops, when it's, I mean, what he said, when you feel the steam rising, when I feel the contraction, what I most liked, what you said was, I can either face the light or I can face the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And as the situation progresses, and it could become volatile, I can make that a mantra. I can face the darkness, I can face the light, I can
Mhm.
face the darkness, I can face the light.
Okay.
Until the situation has passed.
Okay. Work on it. But don't wait until the next experience happens to work on it. You know, start right now. Start right now by filling yourself up with well-being and well wishes. And the stubbornness to get upset behind someone else's mule-headedness and realize that, hey, that's them. And I used to have a mule head myself, so I know what they're going through. Right? So let them go. Give them a break. Let them be stupid.
My question was, how do you act, or how do you start to get in touch with your true self, or your the emptiness, I guess, or when you're still identified with your conditioned self?
Okay. When you still identify with your conditional self, that's what practice is for. There's a self that practices. And pretty soon there'll be no self to practice. But in the interim, in the beginning, there's a self that needs to practice, that needs to make a difference in the way they view things and see things until they can see things for exactly what it is. And so every day it's about practice. Like I tell Don, don't wait until your next bout with anger or whatever to try to work on it. That's too late then. It's gotten its grip on you. You work on it, you realize that you've got this pathology. You don't wait until you have eruptions and your head swells up to twice its size before you go to the doctor and say, give me some medicine. You go to the doctor and say, give me some medicine because I have this tendency, this predisposition for my head to swell up on certain things. And you practice with the medicine. That's the Dhamma. And you practice with it every day. And guess what you do? You get better at being who you know you really are. That's when you work on it. And then when it actually comes, you're ready for it. You're ready to get in the ring with it or to get on the football field with it because you practice. You're strong in it. You're strong in your intention. You work with it enough and you've reflected on it enough that it doesn't sneak up on you. This is what we're talking about. How do we stop things from sneaking up on us? We do things to recognize it before it gets a hold of us. Oh, I see that. And I'm not going to do that. And that's all it takes. You can't wrestle with it when it is in the midst of things. When you wait a month to practice. Practice isn't about sitting on the cushion. Practice is about walking down Main Street.
So just like when you're meditating and you notice certain kind of thought, you notice as you go about your life when you have an inclination to do something that just being mindful of those inclinations that are wrong.
Well, see, that's where I have a problem with mindfulness. And I'm sorry about the mindfulness people who are in here. But it's not about being mindfulness of my faults. It's about working on them and changing them. I know already. You know, it's about changing them that makes the difference in the world. And that's what we're talking about. Yes?
You know, either I read or I heard that something happens with the brain many seconds before things become conscious.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, every thought you have, something has happened first.
Yeah.
So what John is talking about is once that consciousness gets there, you stop and say to yourself, I need some quiet. And I think maybe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me do that right now.
Right there.
The reason that we do what we do is from habit.
Yes.
It's not a spooky place where wisdom rises up. It's about, I do this because I've done this yesterday, and I've done this last Wednesday, and I've gotten angry a year ago, and I got angry 5 years ago about the same thing. And it's about changing our habits, and our habits are changed through changing them. And so what we're talking about is being able to not so much care about where it came from, but what am I going to do with it this time?
That's the next step I was gonna say.
That's the first step.
That, okay, that by quieting your mind at that point, taking a step back and being quiet,
Mhm.
I am wondering if that's the emptiness that you have been describing to us, where you're neutral, you're empty, and you're not responding to the emotions.
Might be. The proof is, are you successful or not?
Yeah, yeah. But I think
Okay, so try that. Try stepping back and being quiet and seeing if that allows the love to flow in, and the negative energy to go down through the earth.
And that changes the habit if you do it enough.
Absolutely.
So you used
Because that becomes a habit, doesn't it? Yeah.
used to not being aware of what's happening, and boom, it comes at you, and you're there.
Every time you come back from Florida, you come back wiser and wiser and wiser.
The vitamin D, or I don't know, it's a good place to stay.
So there's this popular movement now called Beyond Mindfulness. Why? Because some have been practicing it 20 to 30 years and they're still crazy after all these years. So the thing is, I'm just really trying to be straight up and clear here now, because we know that something else is also needed. If you take one part of the path out and isolate it and build an edifice around it, and it might take you there, but it might take 100 years to take you there. But if you fold it into the path and all the aspects of the path, then you can get where you're trying to go, PDQ. So it's a matter of how long you want to take to get there, and it's a matter of being willing to acknowledge and utilize all the tools of the path. And so, it really goes back to walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. And we're in this time where, from the top down, there's so much lying to oneself even about things that we've just become a mess, mired in our own deceit, our own self-deceit. I'm speaking like as to grown-ups now, not to children. Children, you help them along and you reason with them and all that. But grown-ups, you should just be able to speak to grown-ups like it is. And so I'm talking about how we get to the place that we become mired in our own falseness until we have fooled ourselves and we've lost the quality that we have. We can find the answers to everything out here, but when it's something that requires us to really make that egoic change, it's like so confusing to us. We just can't understand it, but we can understand everything out here that builds and perpetuates a sense of ego, and so that's all I'm trying to say to us, that we, if we approach this like we approach everything else, our career making, our money making, our, everything else that we love on this side of reality, then we would start to touch this emptiness that Pannadipa was talking about. Like if we sit in meditation trying to find that emptiness, was what was there before that incident, and there was a becoming. There was a becoming of someone. I wasn't that angry person before that incident. When that occurred, there was a becoming and she arose. You know, it's like a vampire. She arose, you know, but in that space before that happened, that person did not exist. And so it's about continually touching that. And when we do, then that made up person that's stuck in ego will never become, will never come into existence. So right now we're working on the back end. She already came up, and now we're figuring out how to put her back in the box. You know, I'll go sit down and meditate. Om Shanti, 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 Shanti. Putting her back in the box. But it's about recognizing when there's a rumbling of a becoming and cutting it off at the root. Yeah. That's the practice. That's the, yeah, a
Yes.
part of the practice. That's
Yes,
part of the
Bob.
practice.
I'd just like to express my appreciation for both of you today. I've probably heard more Dharma talks from the two of you than maybe anyone in this room. And I'd have to say, this may have been the best one ever. It captures the essence of why we're here. And it was a really good lesson. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Bob.
You're here.
Everyone be safe. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you next time.